We are here at Quest, and I teach a kindergarten and first grade multi-age classroom. We have a writer's workshop every single day. It's very structured and very routine. Each day we meet up on the rug together for a mini lesson, and the mini lesson starts with a connection of something that the children have already learned, and then I teach them something. I teach them a specific skill or a craft that I want them to use during their writing time that day, and then I have them kind of practice it a little bit on the rug, and then they go back to their tables and they practice it at their tables. And during that time, myself and Marjorie go around and we conference with the kids. And during the conferencing time is really when we can differentiate between the different levels of their writing. Very early on, the children get a very good sense of what they're able to do and what level they're at. They're very good at actually pushing themselves to that next level because often they have models of older children that are doing something at that next level. After we've had about maybe half an hour of writing, we come back and we usually pull it back together by sharing what the kids have done during that writing time based on the mini lesson. So we try to choose someone that's demonstrated using the skill or the craft that I've tried to teach them that day. The next day we do the same thing. We kind of try to build on the different lessons that we've taught them. Sometimes the kids do need more time with one skill, and I'll do a follow-up, and I tend to do the follow-up until I know that they've got a pretty good understanding of what I've asked them to do, and they have a pretty good control over using that skill or that craft that I've taught them. Well, as readers, there are some words that we just know. When we're reading, there's words that sometimes we just absolutely know. Well, as writers, there's some words that we're going to need to know with a snap. There are some words that when we're writing, we know like a snap, and some words that we're going to need to know like a snap, okay? And a lot of times, those words are on our word wall. So like if I'm writing a story and I wanted to write the word mom, I might say, that's a snap word because I know how to spell mom, M-O-M. And I would just write it very, very quickly instead of trying to stretch it out, because I didn't need to stretch it out because I knew it like a snap. Can you guys try to snap for me? The first part of the lesson is when I call all the children up to the rug and I kind of introduce to them what I'm going to be teaching to them. And what I do is I try to introduce it through a connection that they've already been doing. So if the other day we had written, I might go back to a piece of writing that we had written the other day, and I'll refer back to that and I'll say, remember when we did this? Well, today we're going to learn to do this. And then that's when we go into the second part of the actual teaching. I drew a picture about something that I've done, something that's happened to me, a small moment. And can someone raise their hand and tell me, what does that picture look like Mrs. DiBattisto's doing? Alexandra?
You're walking in a snow like you're about to buy one of those Christmas trees.
Okay, maybe I was about to buy one of the Christmas trees. What else does it look like maybe Mrs. DiBattisto's doing? Tyler?
You're shopping.
I'm shopping. Where might I be shopping?
At the store.
At the store or at the mall, yeah. Now, what I need you guys to do is I need you to help me write a sentence to go along with this. And in my brain, I was thinking that I might write, I went to the mall, okay? So I'm going to start off with my first word. And the first word is I. And guess what kind of word that is?
Just a snap.
It's a snap word because I just know it in my head.
Everybody knows that. Everybody knows that.
Went. Now, I know that it begins with a W, and I write that word a lot. I'm not going to try to sound it out because I think it might be on my word wall, and I'm thinking, what, begins with a W. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to my word wall. I'm going to look at my W. Does that look like the word went? Because it would have to end with a T. Ooh, that looks like the word went. W-E-N-T. 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 Reread this with me. I went to. What kind of word is that? I know that in my mind. But if you didn't know it, you know that it begins with the t sound. So what would you do? Raise your hand. What would you do? Orion, what would you do?
Go to the word wall.
Would you look, what letter would you look at? T, and you'd see if you could find it. I think too that they see with the modeling, the teacher modeling that goes on, that adults go through that process too of learning how to what to write about and how to write about things, and so they don't view it as something that's just done in schools. And I think that that was part of our reasoning and purpose for wanting to introduce the primary units, is to get them to think about being a writer as a person, not necessarily as a student. So, boys and girls, today what I want you to do is I want you to turn to a person near you, and I want you to tell them one of your snap words. What's a word that you automatically know? The third part of the whole workshop is when I try to actively engage them into what I've just taught them. And usually that's done on the rug as well. So I usually ask them to turn to a partner and in some way practice the skill that I have just taught them, usually verbally. I'll have them turn to the partner and tell them what they're going to write about, or tell them a snap word that they've learned. The fourth part of it is when I ask the kids, I hand out their folders, I ask the kids to go back to their tables and try to use what I've taught them during that day. Now, not all of them will use it, and that's okay. The lessons that I teach do repeat themselves later on, so if they don't get it that time, they'll get it the next time, because sometimes the kids just aren't ready to be using that specific skill or craft, but it's actually being introduced to them during that time. During that conferencing time is where we really get to focus in on what they on what their needs are and where they need to go next. So that's how we work in that whole multi-age piece, and at the differentiation of the levels of kids during their writing time. I see lots of those words that are up on our word wall in your story, and you're spelled correctly. Can I give you a hint about something? This word, this snap word I, when it's all by itself, it always has to be capital because it needs to be strong because it's by itself. So it has, yes, just like that one. So can you switch that up for me? Yeah. Can I use my pencil? We've set it up so Margie, my reading specialist, is able to be in the classroom during most of my days during that writing conferencing time. So she's able to help conference with the kids too. What we do is we try to set someone at each table if possible, or rotate to tables, so we get to at least 2 or 3 kids a day talking about their writing, seeing where they are, what they're learning, what they're using from what we've taught. And it allows the kids to get that adult one-on-one interaction. You know what? I saw some wonderful, wonderful writing today, and I saw some of you guys using what I taught you to do. I saw how you use the word wall to help you with your writing. And you know what I also saw? I also saw that lots of you guys have lots of snap words. A lot of you guys have lots of snap words, and by using your word wall, lots of you guys are going to get a lot of snap words. Okay? Most of you guys were doing a wonderful, wonderful job. I only can choose a couple people to share today. Okay? And I'm going to first choose Annie to come on up. Nice and loud. I made cookies with my grandma. Now, the word that Annie was working on, she wasn't totally sure how to spell the word my. So, Annie, can you tell us what you did?
Went to the word wall.
You went to the word wall, and what did you do?
Looked down the bottom of the W.
The M's, right? She went to the word wall and looked at the M's, and she found the word my. And then I said, can you say the letters in the word my a couple times? And she said, M-Y, M-Y. And I said, do you think that you can hold it in your head until you get back to your table? And she said, I think I can. And so she did, and she was able to write it on her page. And then you know what I did? I said, that's one of your snap words. I wrote it in her folder, in her little word wall. So now she's got the word my on her folder word wall. So if she needs to spell that again, she can just open up her folder, look at it really quick, and before you know it, she won't even have to look. So it will be one of her snap words in her head. Good job. Their quality of writing has tremendously increased. I think that their focus to their writing is so much greater. In the past, looking at children's writing, sometimes it's hard for them to pull ideas and really to get a structure of what they need to be doing. And I feel that primary units of studies has really focused them and given them a structure to write within, which increases their level of writing and their quality of writing, and it increases their expectations of themselves. I feel like they're internalizing a lot of what we're teaching them, whereas in the past we would teach them something and they might get it and they might not. But with primary units of study, I really think that for some reason they're keying into those different pieces that we're trying to get them to understand.
Well, I think two pieces are really key. First of all, the reading that is connected with it. We are showing the models as the stories are being read. We're talking about that writer's craft and maybe pulling out specifics, maybe the sequencing of the story or that small moment that takes one little aspect and writes just about that, where it focuses the writing. And the other thing is the teacher modeling, actually doing the writing in front of them, bringing in writing that they've done, and based on that mini lesson, so that it's not like seeing a whole book and their expectations are like, I can never do that. They really go back to their writing and saying, I can try that. And the teacher encourages that. Go back and try that in your writing. I'll see if you can use that today. Mm-hmm. And if they're at that level and they do it, but they're not chastised or held accountable. If we know that those children being younger are not going to be able to reach that expectation, but they'll get it again.
But they're celebrated for what they are able to do.